This video isn't going to be heavily edited or scripted. It will just be a frank chat about how I see the UK right now. So when I look to my left, oh, might be your right, I've got a load of bullet points I'm going down. So when I'm looking that way, just double checking what I'm looking at. I'm going to clear it from the start. This video is not meant to spread hate. Everything discussed is based on publicly available information, my opinion and commentary around. It's not intended as facts beyond what's verifiable. I'll always encourage viewers to look up the sources themselves as well. The goal in this is to spark honest conversation, not to attack anyone personally, and all views expressed are personal opinions and are used under UK freedom of expression laws. Just to reiterate, the views in this video are my own opinions and commentary on the situation, and they're not intended to incite anything or anyone. All of these bullet points are in no particular order at all. I'm just going to call it how I see it. If I say something that you don't agree with, that's not a reason to dismiss any of my ideas. It's a reason to listen to me more and understand my side as well. So just to preface me, I'm 22 and a lot of people my age were frustrated at how quick the country's changing. Firstly, I start with politics and Labour. For transparency, I'm a fully paid up member of Reform UK and I intend to vote for them in the next general election. Although I did vote Labour in the last general election. That's because I just didn't understand politics at 20. I didn't know what was right or left meant at all. And I was basically fear-mongered into not letting the Tories get back into position. And hey, how bad could Labour be for 4 years, 5 years, if I knew that now? So how do Labour expect 16-year-olds to know what politics is just by giving them the vote? Doesn't really make sense. Especially with Labour, the endless U-turns and broken promises. If they'd just done what they said they would, they wouldn't be in the position they are. All the Labour MPs are just disconnected from the normal working people. They're just a crew of elites now. Of course, with the unlimited scandals, accountability and transparency they just don't have. Much like recently with the grooming gang scandal, that they're basically trying to broaden the scope and ruin what it's actually intended to do. Following on from that, how many things are Labour doing that wasn't in the manifesto? Surely if it's not in the manifesto, it should be spoken about, listened from the public, or at least the people in the House of Commons, before they just do it. It doesn't make sense. It's not what we voted for. But Labour's not the only political party I kind of have a qualm with at the minute. The Green Party, they want to legalise every single drug. We're going to be like zombie land. It just doesn't make sense. You can't just legalise all drugs. It's going to become such an issue in this country. As well as, I've got a huge interest in personal finance. They want to increase the rate of capital gains tax in line with income tax. That's going to kill people, how high that's going to be. Especially if it's just off your investments. You've already paid tax on the money you've put in there, and now it's working for yourself from it. You shouldn't have to pay that higher rate on it. Doesn't make sense. But on a good note, we should have flags everywhere, I believe, in this country, especially when people have painted roundabouts and crossings. It looks pretty good. It suits it, and I think every country in the UK should have theirs. Scotland could have the blue on the white roundabouts, and it makes a Scottish flag. It just makes sense. It adds more patriotism to the country, and just get the councils to do it. Then there can't be any kind of issues of safety or people's cars getting paint on it. Also, I would just love the government to be made smaller. Currently the spending is ridiculous, and I dread to think how much the future pensions of all the civil servants will cost. And especially with the next budget coming very soon, I am expecting taxes to be raised, income tax specifically, which doesn't need to happen. I believe if they were lowered, there'll be much more of a circular economy. Then the government would actually earn more from it. People having their own money, being able to spend it. But nowadays people just can't spend any money. That's why companies and businesses are closing, losing more jobs, and it's just basically a chokehold on the economy. If I move to inflation and housing, young people like me, we are struggling to get the opportunity, especially down south. Houses are ridiculous. And also, just to mention, why is stamp duty a thing? It doesn't serve a purpose. It's just another way for the government to skim money off the top. Or more importantly, I should say, small businesses, they're getting crushed under red tape and overheads, causing a massive lack of confidence. Less companies are starting, more companies are shutting down, less jobs. There's no bonus. If we go back to Labour, the public spending waste is ridiculous. Billions is lost to poor contracts and consultancy. For example, just a small one, this came out recently that Labour spent £120,000 this year on influencer marketing. What's the need for influencer marketing? They're already in power. Don't understand. Or is it just to brainwash the next generation? There is also kind of a sense between younger people that working hard just doesn't pay off anymore, causing people in my generation and potentially the next just to be less driven, not take risks. Something I've noticed a lot more recently is old family-run businesses. There's a bakery near me that lasted 70 plus years. It's had to close down this year. Why is that? Well, the high streets are just dying. They're becoming impossible to run at. They just need to cut rates for the high street entirely. Encourage businesses to go back in. People will turn up if there's businesses they want to turn up to. But taking their places is Turkish barbers and vape shops. And we all know they're clearly money laundering, but there's not much of a push against it. We can't forget as well the council tax rises. Labour promised in the first year not a penny more in council tax. Yes, it's now past the first year, but there were rises within the first year, and it just got swept under the rug because of all the other issues that kind of Labour are creating. And a massive one of the economy is, as of July 2025, there is an estimated around 8 million people on universal credit. I believe it's probably slightly higher. With a country of 69 million people, that's way too high. The average payment for a household on universal credit as of May 2025 was £1,030 per month, and mentioned there are more than 1 million foreign national claimants, although some have said recently that the total is upwards of 2.9 million foreign national claimants. I know that's a massive kind of gap between, but just gives you some scope. In my opinion, why should we be giving taxpayer money to people who've chose to move here? Yes, we like to help people, but they've chose to come here. They've come from another country. If they can't afford it, they just need to go back. It just needs to be as frank as that. And of course, the total cost of universal credit between 2023 to 2024 was 51.77 billion. That's more than this black hole that Labour keeps saying there is, or said at the start, which they've doubled, plus the trillions we owe other countries combined. Like, we just didn't pay 1 year's worth of universal credit. Of course, there's some people that do need it, but you can cut a lot of that off in a couple of years. That black hole's gone. Move to the law, order and safety. There's nothing like that in this country anymore. Crime rates still, apparently per statistics, fall year on year, but I believe that's because people aren't reporting it. It's not getting investigated, and there's just less police. You also notice a lot more violent crime rising, if not consistently, with the younger generation below me being kind of brought up on this almost gang culture, carrying knives around. At 15, I was playing football. Wasn't holding a knife in the street. You don't do that. And even shoplifting and theft, that's just risen and risen and risen. Shops like Greg's, you see the videos all the time. People just walking in, oh, I want a bottle of Coke, and just walking and take it. They're going to kill the shops off. More high streets are dying. More jobs are going to get lost because you just want a bottle of Coke. And police are being skewed towards online offences and monitoring it. It's just crazy. No, I love the police. I'm not against the police at all. If it's that much of a concern, an online post cool. But there's not many examples I can think of, or any at all, that really justify turning up at someone's house at 2 o'clock in the morning when they can deal with an assault slow time. Why do they have to deal with this quick time for someone that said something online? Which leads me on to the two-tier policing and justice. We all know it's there. With the lenient sentences for people taking a nice boat ride over, it just doesn't make sense. We need to be harsher on sentences. That's not going to happen unless we obviously make more prison space, which I think all of us will be happy if they do, even if it costs more taxpayer money. We need to just be harsher on sentences. Otherwise, they're just going to run rampant. Everyone will. That moves me on to immigration, as well as integration and identity of this country. The rapid migration is changing communities and stretching housing, NHS and schools. There are many concerns about integration and cultural cohesion. An example I can give of a recent one in October last month. This month, I thought it was November already, because I've been seeing that all day. There was a charity run in Victoria Park, London, organised by Mosque, and it was advertised and publicly excluded women and girls above the age of 12. Why was that not all over the news? It just raises questions about balancing cultural autonomy and equality in public spaces. Like, if that was any other group that excluded women and girls above the age of 12, I mean, that's clearly not being cohesive or just joining in with our culture. It's just pressing that women, in their eyes, are like third-class citizens. Let's not also forget the one in, one out major thing Labour have done with France. We all know one of them that we've already sent back one of the lucky like 7, whatever that's gone over, has already come back on a boat and he's detained. So he's going to get fast tracked and waste another space to go back. We're going to have to probably take another. They just need to be harsher on France. We're paying on France all this money. They're not actually aiming to do anything unless there's someone there on the beach in France with a camera. Then the police turn up to stab the boats to kind of pop them. The cost of housing just a single asylum seeker in a hotel, it's crazy. And I don't think most people, if they understood how much it cost, that would be the point for them to change their opinion on the situation. The government is spending around £41,000 a year to house one asylum seeker for 1 year. £41,000, that's higher than the average salary for a normal person. So how many people's taxpayer money is having to go to house one person? That's just a housing. It's not the food, it's not the travel, it's not their allowance to go gamble, whatever they do. Or the ones that are setting up OnlyFans inside the hotel. Like, it's crazy. Meaning hotel accommodation is roughly costing £145 per night. What hotel are they going to? You can go to a travel lodge for £60, £70 a night. That's like a high 4-5-star hotel they're paying for £145 a night. And it's projected 15.3 million over the next 10 years for the contracts that are already in place. Ending the use of hotels will save over £1 billion annually, and it will, in my opinion, that will easily pay for all the flights back. Just makes sense, and we'll all be happy that money's getting used on a good thing. Do not forget that most of these hotels get NHS workers out of there every day, and then the taxis they need, the asylum seekers need to go about. I mean, there's a case of one of them going, I believe it was 150 miles each way to get their leg checked by a specialist, getting fast tracked to get, and also who's paying for that? The taxpayer. You can get put on a GP waiting list for months. If you've got a serious concern about something, it takes that long. If they have a bit of an issue with their leg, go to a specialist who will pay for the taxi. That won't be cheap. But there's also reports of TB being in the country because of it. People are coming over here to get their TB sorted. It's going to cause an outbreak. Kind of further on the freedom of speech issues, non-crime hate incidents. Yes, the Met Police have basically just said they're not going to investigate anymore, which is a win. But I've not heard any other force or anyone say that they're not going to do it. It doesn't make sense. It's a non-crime hate incident. If they've got no crime to look into, cool. But the police. They don't ever have a time when there's not a crime to look into. Burglaries. People don't expect the police to turn up if they get burgled. So that's why burglaries have also gone up. But if there's no crime broken, why are the police looking into it? It's also, just because someone doesn't like what you say or what you do, someone could lodge a non-crime hate incident against you, and then that'll ruin a future job prospect. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. And offensive speech laws, they used so inconsistently and subjectively. Also, the major one, the Online Safety Act, it's got a massive overreach. It doesn't need to censor as much as it does. I believe it's affecting or will be affecting Wikipedia. So you won't be able to see most articles on Wikipedia because they're from untrustworthy sources. Continuing is the cancel culture. We need more debate and conversation in this country. If you don't have that, then you just lack ideas. Leading to that, people are self-censoring. They're not saying what they truly believe because they fear the repercussions, which is a dangerous rabbit hole to go down. I can't find any kind of more recent data than 2023. I wonder why, but there was 12,183 arrests in 2023 for online posts. Yes, I've not seen all the posts out of there, but you're telling me all of them are that dangerous when there's other countries, like Russia with a couple of hundred. You'd expect Russia to be well above us about arresting people for online posts. And I wish I could see this year's and last year's figure, because that will be astronomical. Public services and standards. The NHS has got such long waiting lists. Staff are burnt out and they're underfunded. But the waiting lists can fall so quickly when I believe there should potentially be the NHS staff cannot strike. If you're looking after people's lives, why are you going on strike? Yes, it's to up your wage and get you seen, but the police can't strike. They're there to save people's lives. It causes then the NHS to have to spend hundreds more to get people to cover them shifts. The education of kids nowadays, I don't know what they're learning, but it's definitely shifting towards ideologies instead of actually learning the history of this, even just the history of this country. Kids need to be brought up on the history of this country. Infrastructure, we all know, we don't have roads anymore. We got holes. You've just got to drive around them. Trains, I don't use a train often, but whenever I hear people need to, they're cancelled, they're delayed, they don't turn up. Then when they try to get compensation off of them, good luck. Councils, what do councils do anymore? Genuinely, they're declining in the amount they do for the area. and they're raising the prices. And one for me that I think people need to do more on is just the erosion of manners, your please and thank yous. You never hear that anymore. And just discipline with civic pride, down to littering. If you have civic pride, you don't litter. Places like Birmingham are crazy with how much litter there is just everywhere. One thing I hope does not go through, and there's general election called earlier to sort this out, but digital ID, it's just a way for the state to gain surveillance across everyone. They'll make a cashless economy so they can see every single transaction. You've got banks like NatWest that have changed their app to show how much carbon you've used on every single purchase. Why do we need to know? I don't believe global warming's a thing. I believe we're just still leaving the ice age. So of course the world is heating up. We're leaving the ice age. I'm just really confused about the whole situation. The UK has or makes less than 1% of the CO2. So why are we causing bills to go sky high of net zero? Yes, what we've ended up doing is moving all of our high-V production to China, so that yes, that's where most of the CO2 is, but it just causes higher bills. We need to create jobs in the country, create confidence in business, and kind of drive the economy. What happened with the petitions? I appreciate petitions aren't going to force anything to happen, but petitions that get millions of signatures in days show something. The fact that Labour brushed them off as, oh, you'll forget this petition in a couple of days, we're just going to continue what we're doing. They're supposed to serve the public, not ignore them. And one thing I'm glad that's happened is the mistrust in mainstream media, using things like Ground News, obviously not sponsored. You can see how different leaning news companies and media companies portray the same exact story, and how easily it can just be misled. With people with alternative perspectives being labelled as extremists, fascists and racists, but you don't have any type of way to explain how they are. It's crazy. People have just lost the ability to talk, and they just shout at someone they don't like just because of a view. If people spoke, there'd be so much more civility and understanding. You can't forget the trans debate in the world. It hurts women and children. It just does. And especially the children, where they're getting sterilised because they don't really understand the world at that point. Obviously, puberty blockers have now been, I believe, banned on children. I don't know if they can get it through private or not. I know it's banned through the NHS, but it's causing children, obviously, to get sterilised. It's causing them to get brittle bones, and they're kids. They don't know what they want when they get older. They might call themselves a fireman one day, but then obviously not at that second they're not a fireman. They might call themselves Batman or Robin. They're not Batman or Robin. They're a child. They've got an imagination. The amount of detransitioners is growing so quick, and they can't speak up about it. The amount of abuse they get online about it, just because they want to show their side of the story. The major thing that happened previously was parents are getting told that their kids are going to kill themselves if they don't do it. Imagine being in that position. Although, in that situation, the parents that get told that their child was probably already cutting themselves at that point, which is sad, and that's just the bit that needs to get looked at. And it turns out the natural cure for it is just time, showing that it's really just a phase. You wouldn't tell someone with anorexia to not eat, so why would you tell someone with gender dysphoria to change your gender? The people at the top who are funding the indoctrination of these children that are actually reaping the financial incentives through medication, they become a medical patient for life, and it's estimated like $1 million is the cost across their lifetime because they're going to need constant medication or surgeries. I am slightly stronger on this stance, and I would say someone should have to wait till 25 if they want kind of the surgeries and all the medication. But obviously, I want more freedom in the country, so I can't stop anyone over the age of 18 doing it. But if you look at the average on how long it takes someone to detransition and realise they don't actually like this idea, it takes them 7 years. To do it from 18, 7 years is 25, so it's that 25 gap anyway. If they just waited, they wouldn't want to do it. It saved them money, their health, their life. They can still have kids. If you disagree or agree to anything I said, let me know in the comments. We'll have a real discussion and a conversation about it. Let's be productive. We're not going to have a shouty match.